everyone. My name is Mr.Aquaman, and welcome to the KoloCast, a weekly show hosted by myself and Flashyy over there. Flashyy, do it with me. Do it with me. Do it with me. He almost had it. He almost had it.
I'm
All
getting
wait for you. Oh.
right, I'm gonna cut
We
that
kept
out and
doing
pretend
it.
like that didn't happen. But welcome back to the show, everybody. Let's just
We missed it
pretend
like
that
6
never
times.
happened. Let's
We missed
pretend
it like
that never
4 times.
happened. We're gonna cut that out. Welcome back to
Majin
the
Buu would
show,
have killed us.
everybody.
We would have been fucking dead.
Oh my goodness, Aquaman, just bring our
That was
guest in here.
the
This is
most
already
uncoordinated intro I've seen in my 11 years.
It was supposed to be. It was supposed to be. Welcome to the KoloCast, everyone.
Oh, yeah.
You've already gotten your first taste of the episode. Welcome our guest today, one of my favorite people to ever walk planet Earth. It's going to be Flashyy. How you doing, Flashyy? Are you having a good one out there?
I can't believe you just did that to him like that, bro. Oh no.
Guys, I think my internet's cutting out. I'm
Can
going
we
to catch
just
you guys
cut this
later.
whole thing?
No,
No, we got Big D here today, man. Oh my goodness, this is absolutely awesome. Big D, tell the people if they live under a rock who you are, what you got going on. What is going on, man? Welcome to the show, bro.
Yes, thank you. I was going to give Aquaman props, but now
They're
you
gone,
go
I
to
know.
hell.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm
It's over.
only talking to Flashyy now for the rest
There
of
we
the
go.
time.
It's just me and you here today.
I mean, a lot of people know my origin story. The basic idea, I was an online guy playing. I bought MK9 the day it came out in college, and then that game was one of the few reasons for my absolute downfall of education, because I played about 12 hours a day. I was hooked. I still graduated. All right, I still graduated. It just took me a little bit longer. It's relatively simple. I lived in Orlando, didn't know offline tournaments existed, and it was actually my brother. He looked up a tournament for MK9, which was at a bar in Winter Park, Florida, which is like right next to Orlando. It was at a bar called Roosters. It was a monthly, which in hindsight happened to be a CEO monthly. So that's like one of the smaller things. He actually forced me to go. I refused. He forced me. He drove me there, paid for my registration fee, and forced me to play. Ended up doing pretty well, met a lot of people, and then decided to kind of stick with it. And then looked for other tournaments in the area. One was at the UCF campus, University of Central Florida, at the Domino's in there. I won that, and that's where I met. I know it was great. They had free pizza and everything. It was fantastic.
Hey, I'm free pizza. Let's go.
No, it was phenomenal. For a college kid's dream, you get free food and it's a tournament. Dude, that's done. And then Aquaman, you know DR. You probably might know him, Flashyy. I'm not sure. Old school, noob Cybot guy. That's where I met him, and we became friends. He invited me over to do training sessions, and he helped me get ready. And then the first big one was Winterfest, a long-ass time ago, I think 2012 or 2011. I won that, and then everyone in the Atlanta scene, because the big thing was final rounds, which happens in Atlanta, they started to hear about me. And then they were like, oh, I hope he goes to final round. I'm like, I had no intentions of going anywhere. I was just doing stuff in my area. It was a week prior. Andrew, aka DR, pretty much goes, hey man, you're going to come to final round. We already got your registration.
Oh,
No.
man.
No, I'm not flying to Atlanta. He goes, you're right, because we're driving. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. This dude forced me into it.
Taken against his will into the scene.
No, like actually, this whole thing was not my idea at all. And then I was at my buddy's party.
10 years later.
He
10
picks
years
me
later.
up at 3 a.m. on that Thursday night, picks me up when I had my bag, and we went straight there. I passed out in the car super drunk. I'm not even ashamed to admit that. Woke up in another state. We were in Atlanta. And then we had that day to get ready, and the next day was a turn, met a whole bunch of people, and then fast forward, I had a death pool with like Showtime, who Aquaman also. You're gonna know all these names. I had Showtime, Clint the Beast, Morty Seinfeld, Arturo Sanchez, whole bunch of people, and then the cream of the crop. I had CD Jr. in that pool as well.
Oh,
and then by some
that
act
was a
of
hard
God,
pull for the time.
dude. The thing was, and we talked about this before, right? MK9 tournaments, maybe 100 people, 110 people, but you knew every name. Everyone was ridiculous at that game. It's just how it was. And then, so fast forward, I'm not going to get too into it. I ended up beating Junior in winners finals and making top 8. So then that's kind of like how everything started, because then after that, I ended up placing 5th at my first major. And then Like I made a Twitter after that, and then everything just kind of skyrocketed, and I just have been doing it ever since. It's literally it. It's the origin story, essentially.
So when did you kind of look around and you were like, what was that? I think I've asked a couple of the players that have been on the show, but what was the moment where you looked around and you were like, this is it. Like, this is what I want to do. Was there one specific moment, or was it kind of just a gradual effect of just going to these tournaments, meeting people, making friends?
I think it was pretty much walking into that final round venue for the pool day. I kind of walked in and I had like, I was insanely nervous. Like it was fucking scary for me because I was what, like 20, I think it was 20 at the time, or yeah, just around 20. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, why am I so nervous? And I thought about all the times that, there were a lot of hype videos coming out for Final Round that Pig of the Hut and Lord of the Fly did together to kind of gain some traction for Final Round. And they were mentioning my name. And then back then, TYM was a huge thing. So everyone was, for better or worse, talking about me. My name was in a lot of people's mouth. I was playing Nightwolf, one of the 3 people that played that garbage character. And then...
We'll get into your
You know
later.
I'm right.
What?
But that's the point of it, right? So like I was playing some shit character, but still doing pretty well. And there was a lot of hype because I was beating well-known names. Like I was beating DR, I was beating Newbie. Mesmerize was another big name back then. A lot of people I respect from. Isaac was another one. Like all these people that were beating had really good reputations. So like, who the hell is this guy? Like, why is he playing Nightwolf and doing well? That's not supposed to be a thing. But anyway, so when I walked into that venue, I started thinking about all the things people were saying. I'm like, this could be really cool. Like if something cool happens, like I wasn't like gunning for it, but if it happened, it happened. And it did. And then right after I got top 8, and then like my Facebook was blowing up and TYM was all over the place. I was like, this is kind of sick. Like people are actually like, I enjoy doing it, win or lose, but then now I'm like getting a name out of it. Like that wasn't supposed to happen. My name, I registered as Big D for that Roosters monthly tournament thinking nothing was going to come out of it because then I could just switch my name to whatever I want if something happened. But then I do well at that. Now everyone knows me as that. That wasn't the way this was supposed to go. Big D's not even my nickname. It's my brother's.
It was.
He played football in high school. That's what the teammates called him.
Okay. Oh,
he
I
was
was
a
gonna say,
lineman.
was it? What was the origin behind Big D? But that was it, because I assume that a lot of people assume from the outside looking in that it's the obvious, right?
Oh yeah,
And he's not.
but
But he's also not declining. Did you see that?
no.
Did you see that,
I
Flash?
mean, everyone needs to use their imagination. And you use your imagination, you all got it. I'm just gonna say that the nickname originated. It was my brother's that I stole because I couldn't think of one on time. He goes, "Yo, you're going to this tournament." I'm like, "All right, I'm just gonna use Big D." It's like that's it. It's not gonna stick, right? Fucking 11 years later, here I am.
So forced against your will to go to a tournament, not even the name you
You
wanted.
didn't even use your own name.
Yeah, and you've kept this up for 11 years. That is an anomaly
ever
right
since
there, man.
then, and now even then, I decided I wanted to change my name before Final Round, but I couldn't really think of one. And then when they said they got my registration already, I'm like, okay, so then I'll change it after that. And then I get 5th, and then it was done. So now I'm stuck with this. There's no way. Even leaving during Injustice 1 and then coming back for MKX, I went under Bread Truck for ESL. My idea was to make it to the finals without anyone knowing who I was, and then showing up saying, hey, by the way, it's me from MK9. And then Godspeed, who was a commentator, outed me and ruined everything. Because the first week I made top 8, he goes, Bread Truck, by the way, I have heard through the vine that this is actually Big D. I'm like,
I think I remember
now I
that
can't get rid of that
moment.
name and that. I waited 3 years and then I come back and I still can't get rid of it. So then after that, it's over. Now I went to the Ukraine and shit. It's all over. It's Big D till I die.
Big D forever, man.
I mean, I can relate. I can relate. How have I not been sued by DC Comics is beyond me.
It's coming.
And it's coming.
It's coming.
After this latest merger, they're gonna be like, all right, trim all the fat. Where's Mr.
Aquaman? Wait a second.
We gotta get rid of this over here. But I was the same way. I had this crazy Xbox tag, and I was like, none of this is gonna matter whatsoever. And then you're fucked. the moment that you get known, you are fucked, because then if you change it, there's a whirlwind of wrath. I even at one point even just mentioned like thinking about changing my name, and crazy enough, and this is again just picture the sheer craziness of this. I said that, and then moments later, a man by the name of Tom Brady messaged me and goes, "You're fucked if you do that." I'll never forget that to the day I die. He's just like, if you change your name, you're fucked. You're stuck with it. People know you. Just own it. And
But that's the thing, though. You knew that was going to be like that. You can't escape the name that you've given yourself.
Yeah, you really can't.
Like that's the thing. I've tried numerous times. A ton
or
of
that the
people
community's
have tried.
given to you.
Yeah, and even if you change it, you go under something at a different tournament, they're still going to call you by your original name. The only exception was Hero Killer. That was the only exception because that was what, Pretty Flacco. That's who that was.
I believe so.
That was in the beginning. Yeah, and then he switched to Hero Killer and got top 8 as Hero Killer. So now that's all they call him.
As Hero Killer, and then he became Hero Killer Stain. Exactly. Thank you, War of the
no
Gods.
one else. And then I guess
shows
Buffalo.
back in the day. Let's go.
I guess Buffalo's another one, but that's a different story in itself.
Fucking stuck as Buffalo. Too bad.
Even through all that stuff. So it's impossible. So if anyone is out here getting ready to join the scene, my advice:
pick a good name.
Think long and hard about the tag that you are going to pick. I guarantee you, if you don't want it to, but you happen to do something, that is your name for years to come. Take it
even
from
as a
someone
content
that
creator, if you're a YouTuber, musician,
just please. That's like, it's like getting a tattoo. You have to think about what you want before you get it. Don't make the mistake I did and just pick something, and then now it's more permanent than anything else in my life.
Be a paleontologist and learn from the dinosaurs. All right, that was the worst thing I've ever said on the microphone.
Moving on to the next.
I actually don't want you to cut that out because
I'll keep it.
Next question, Big D, because I'm about to do it. Is what are you drinking over there?
This is, well, it was Tito's. For those that don't know, if you look up my old videos of tournaments, I was a very big man. I was like upwards of like 320 pounds. Nowadays I'm 185, 190-ish area, whatever. And I did really well with that. One of the first things I cut out was beer. And then when I went to liquor, I was never a soda guy, so I didn't really mix it with anything. And now I actually get sick anytime I have like soda or like a really sugary juice with my alcohol. So you will always see me, whether it's vodka, tequila, whiskey, it will always be straight. So that is what I am drinking. Which most people already know that about me.
Well, Big D, I'm going to join you. Here's some Kraken. Cheers, my friend. It's lovely to have you on. And I'm glad our viewers can even get to experience a little bit of what you're all about. And after this, I want to talk about the event that you were just a part of here on the Kolosseum, because talk about magical Flashyy. Woo! Cheers, by the way.
That was a good one. Cheers, everybody.
Honestly.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers. Absolutely. Love you guys.
So Kolosseum Rewind MK9, dude. MK9 tournament in 2021. Big D, what'd you think about going back in time, man? What'd you think about that?
I never thought in a million years we would be able to play MK9 online in a tournament setting with Parsec. Parsec is a godsend. Like it really is. Like far beyond, fighting games that have, maybe a little bit of a less ideal netcode. You still have all these other games that would be only split screen co-op that you could probably play with Parsec. Like, this shit is unbelievable. And then when Aquaman first approached me, he DM'd me saying, I'm thinking about doing like an MK9 thing. We're going to do like a whole throwback tourney system. I was like, dude, if you don't let me be a part of this in some way, shape, or form, I will block you off of everything. No, I did. I was like, there is no shot that you're going to do this without me there in some, whether I'm playing, commentating, I don't give a fuck. You put me there in some aspect because that's what started it all. When it happened, and I was late to it, I did like the last little bit of commentary because I had an exam prior that day. And then when I got there, it was like, I did pass. Onwards to the state exam. Your boy's going to be a licensed real estate agent soon, hopefully. Take a little bit, man. But So I went through that, and I'm running off of a high, right? I passed my exam, on to the state exam. I log on, I'm doing this MK9 thing, and I am sitting there like me and KP are commentating, and we're having a really good time. We bounce off each other really well. And when he's talking, I have a chance to like breathe and just sit there and watch. I'm like, I can't believe I'm looking at this in 2021.
Yeah, that's even happening.
It's unbelievable. And we all know, you guys could agree or disagree. Nostalgia is one of the strongest drugs in the world. We chase that. We chase that feeling of nostalgia every day, regardless of what it is, whether it's with video games or maybe you're listening to an old song that made you feel a certain type of way. Nostalgia is so strong. And when I was watching that, I'm like, all those memories from 2011 to 2013 really started replaying. And then Aquaman, we had this conversation a lot too, where the butterfly effect. What happened if I never went into that? Where would I be? I would have never met you. I would have never met you. I would have never gone. Who knows where my life would have went?
And you know, Big D, he had the same exact conversation with Kerbo, who actually won the fucking event. That son of a bitch. I've paid for a car for this kid through Kolosseum.
Actually,
by the way, it's insane. But even he was like asking, you know, telling us all of the what ifs of even going back to Pig of the Hut. If Pig of the Hut hadn't like been like go to a tournament and was talking to his mom on the phone and was saying get this kid out there, that things could have been so much different. And for all of our, you know, finding out everyone's origin stories is really cool, and just seeing how people get into the community and maybe what's missing from growing it even more. Maybe we need to do a lot better job of saying you're going to this tournament against your will or not, because holy crap, look what it did for you. That's crazy.
I mean, it's weird to think about, right? So like butterfly effect concerning me, you know, if I told my brother Kyle to go fuck himself, I'm not going to that tournament at Roosters.
Which he does a lot.
Never met
on other aspects.
I do. I love my brother to death, but fuck that guy sometimes. I would have never met you. I would have never met Jer. I would have never met Tox, and those are my like three of my best friends in the entire scene. I talk to these guys more than I talk to my friends that live down the street from me. Like I'm super close with these people, which is another thing that I'm going to get into later, maybe, but I'm not going to get into that now. The point is that I don't go to that Roosters tournament. It doesn't escalate to this. I don't meet those guys. I don't get into commentary. I don't travel outside the country. Like all that happened going to the Ukraine and then meeting everyone and finding out this new passion would have never happened if I didn't go to that fucking hole in the wall bar where we were stuck in the back having setups on a pool table. It never would have happened like that. Legitimately, it just never would have happened.
Now that's
like
grassroots
that.
right there. That's it.
Literally, they had the pool table and an air hockey table, and they put the boards on top of that, so it was a flat surface, and they put the setups on top of that. It was like 3 setups. That's it. For like 45, 50 fucking people. It was crazy. And then we all know about the bathroom events and shit way back in the day. Like, we've come a long way. People don't understand that. We really have.
We come from the era, and our origin story, my origin story with Big D is from the era where to travel an event, I mean, when you travel the final round, in that car was probably a bunch of people, 4 to 5 people, I'm assuming. And there were times in hotel rooms where there was upwards of 12 people in one room, maybe even more, and you had to traverse the minefields of people laying on the floor to get anywhere. And on the floor of a random hotel room is where I met Big D back in the MK9 days, face first on the ground of a hotel room. I want to say that there was a pizza box next to his face. If I remember correctly, I think that there was an empty pizza box, and I woke up going, "Who the fuck's this guy that appeared out of nowhere?" It looked like someone had just stumbled in the room and fell down that was holding pizza, and then that's how I found him the next morning. And that was Big D to me.
I'm going to provide just a little bit of context so people don't think I'm fucking strange. The idea was that I had my own room at that hotel. That was for NEC, right? I remember that.
MLG Rally, I think.
No, it was NEC.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was NEC. Was it MLG Raleigh? No, it wasn't MLG Raleigh. Because at MLG Raleigh...
It was around the same time. You might be right.
I think it was NEC because I remember NEC was where I had my own room. The hotel miraculously lost my registration. So I was like, okay, all right, so then I'll just get a room now then, right? It goes, no, we're sold out. What the fuck you mean you're sold out? Like, I'm here. outside of my own home state. Like, what do you mean you're sold out? Where am I going to go? So I ended up just like falling asleep in the lobby. Like, I had my suitcase there and everything. And then Blackula, the Kenshi player, super nice guy. He taps me on the shoulder. He goes, "Yo, what are you doing? Like, are you good?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude. The fucking hotel screwed up my reservation." He goes, "Nah, man, just come sleep in our room." I was like, "Oh, you got a bed?" He goes, "No, but I got the floor." I said, "Bet, send me up."
All you
He
need.
gave me a pillow. He gave me like I think it was shower towels as a blanket, and I slept like a baby. Then I woke up to Aquaman tripping over me, or I think it was Aquaman or someone else in that room.
I think
Someone
it was
kicked me right in the side of the stomach, and I woke up. I'm like, I can't get mad because like I shouldn't even be here, but like, what the fuck, bro? I'm pretty sure it was Aquaman. So that was the first time I met. I was like,
that part of the story.
He was like, "Yo, dude, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Nah, man, you're good." He goes, "I'm Aquaman." I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm Big D. I'm gonna go back to sleep now." And then we just kind of went off.
Cheers.
He went to do his thing. I think he was getting ready to leave.
That's what it was. I remember him like being knocked out on the floor, and then us making eye contact, saying "What's up," and then him just going back to laying down. And then we just went about our day.
It's like 7:30 in the morning. That was one of probably the two most fucked up meetings that I've ever heard of. The other one, this is behind the scenes. I'm good friends with Jer, right? He was in the bathroom with he told me all this. So and it's not bad, but it's hilarious. So Jer was in the bathroom. Listen, every guy, for the ladies that are watching, every guy has an unspoken. If you're in the bathroom and you go to the urinal and someone else is going to the bathroom, you skip a urinal and you go down to the next one, right? We can agree that's an unspoken rule. You just don't stand. Like if there's 9 urinals in an empty bathroom, you stand next to the guy that's also using a urinal. It's a little weird, but it's not like that big of a deal. It's just one of those things you don't do. So anyway, Jer apparently is taking a piss at a urinal, and ATP comes in and pisses at the urinal right next to him. And looks over and goes, "Hey, you're Jer, right?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Hey, man, I'm ATP." And he goes, "Nice to meet you, man." And then they wash their hands and leave. And he told me this, and I am crying. So I'm like, that's like one of the most... How do you respond to that? How do you respond to something like that? Now, ATP is hilarious. I love that guy.
Great guy.
I met him for the first time, like, officially, when we commentated the Combo Breaker 10v10 Florida versus Texas. I sat down with him. Honestly, one of the funniest guys I ever met. I love that guy. But it was funny because, like, you don't know how to respond to that. Like when you get caught off guard like that. Like how I want to know what each of you would have done if someone that you didn't notice just came out of nowhere and introduced themselves while you were in the restroom.
There's nothing you can do, man. You just gotta accept the situation for what it is and get out
You're
of
just
there.
like, all right, this is the thing that's happening.
That's exactly what it would have been like. You would have accepted the situation, gone, "Hey, man, and then just get the hell out of there, I guess." Yeah, and then just
good to see you. I'm
gonna leave
now.
So
this is
moving down the timeline of the Big D career, right? So we have players started out MK9 Nightwolf player, and then moving down the line, played MKX. I want to get into the whole commentary situation. So you were doing, when did you start commentary? When did you kind of look at it and you're like, that's kind of my next steps?
So fun fact, I had a crippling, and I mean this, I never use that word. I have a crippling fear of public speaking throughout my early years, around 20 to like 22. It was at the point I would actually get doctor's notices to not do speeches in speech class my first couple years of college, which is a true story. And then eventually, when I took a break and I lost a lot of the weight, I gained a lot of confidence and I established a lot more social skills because I will never front, back in the day, I wanted nothing to do with anybody. I was just a very introverted dude. And I still am. Like social interactions definitely still drain me. But you kind of learn to pick and choose your battles and harness energy and save it for those moments. But anyway, it started when I was doing commentary when I came back for MKX. I was competing and I was doing commentary in pools, which back then grassroots, fucking bounce, whatever. Like it's whatever you want.
If you're just
It wasn't
walking
you had
by,
to submit an application.
there's a
The
small
dude would
chance
look up
someone's
and
gonna
go,
grab you.
"Hey, I need another commentator who wants to commentate," and you get some people that were absolutely horrendous, and then you get some people that were good. It was just all about who was there and who was willing at the time. So then I was commentating. I forgot the grassroots tournament that it was. It was after I got my first Evo medal. I want to say it was Summer Jam. And
Was
I
it the
realized
NEC
that like
where you had the cast? I remember you commentated there too.
it was after that, but that was another good turning point. That was where I was like, hey, I'm more well spoken than I kind of imagine myself to be. And then at Summer Jam, when I was signed with EVB, and then I had my top 8 and everything at Evo prior, and I went there and they asked if I wanted to commentate. I said, sure, why not? Me and KP hopped on the mic. We were doing like the top 16 where you were playing Raptor or something. That was a crazy set, by the way. I still remember that. That shit was hilarious. But anyway, that's when I realized I was like, okay,
More props, please.
this is something I really enjoy. Like I actually like that was really fun, strangely, because I used to like be super afraid to talk to people. And I kept doing it over and over and over again. And then this is another behind the scenes story. So then CEO comes around 2019, MK11. Granted, I did some things from Injustice. Aquaman, we did War of the Gods. I did Combat Cup Season 2. I
did Combat Cup Season 2?
Guest appearances on those, and I was really enjoying it. Like I really put that ahead of everything else I was doing in life. And then 2019 CEO comes around. This is when I was getting ready to retire. And a few of my close friends know about this, but for those that don't know, you're going to get an inside scoop. My original plan, and this was not easy. I convinced myself to do this. My original plan was to follow through with CEO, finish my contract with Rectify at the time. And then I was actually going to go full-blown Madsen. I was going to delete my social media, and you guys would have never heard from me again. That was the plan. I was like, it's one of those things where it's like, it's really hard to do, but you just got to do it because it's just not your passion anymore. And I was like, I can't get into the commentary thing. So then CEO comes around, and I'm sitting there, and I make a joke about saying, oh, you know what? This is why I want to get into production. And someone, I'm not going to mention who, overheard me and asked me. He was like, hey, is that like something you really want to do? He's like, I know a few people. Maybe I could get you in at some point. He's like, you would have to, prove. It's a tryout for sure. You're not just going to be handed this. I'm like, well, I'll give it a shot. Why not? I put that plan on the back burner for a little bit. So I had a tryout. Apparently crushed it because I got an email about a week later saying, hey, would you like to commentate ECT? And this was when Aquaman, you were out of town. I was like, of course I do. Fuck would I not want to do that? So that was my first professional gig. Got really good feedback and then built up my case ever since. And then I knew I was always good at it, but I'm always learning and always wanting to get better at it because I actually enjoyed it. So then I scrapped. I fucking crumbled that old plan up, threw it in the fucking basket, and now I'm in this for the long haul. Because I enjoy it. I love doing it. I love doing shows. I love doing commentary. It's just something that I love to do. I don't care if it's paid, not paid. I'm in there. And so ever since then, ECT came, crushed it. NEC, crushed it. They brought me on for the finals, crushed it. And then Kiev happened. And then now I'm like out there. Like people know about me now, and that's crazy. So it wasn't a part of the original plan, but I'm so glad I didn't fall through it.
Dude, that's so awesome to hear, man.
I've got something really similar to kind of how you started with something you were dealing with public speaking. A little bit different. I've had an issue with stuttering my whole life. And through commentary was the only thing I found where I never stuttered. When I was going, if you remember, when I first started with the first Combat Cup was when I first started taking commentary seriously. I had to have been the most energetic son of a bitch on the mic. I was screaming at the top of my lungs for 6 hours straight, multiple nights a week during those times. But it was because that style was what I was more used to because I didn't have any FGC idols when it came to commentary. I grew up on WW fucking F, WCW, it's more about the entertainment side of things. And so bring that into the fold, I realized when I watched it back, I was like, holy shit, I didn't stutter. What do you mean? And so that's why being on camera, being live is something that I've come to really enjoy, because it helps with something like that in a really odd way, because this community is where my comfort zone kind of shifted to as I got into events, as I got into putting events together, commentary. I almost feel like all of you can agree that, especially for us that are introverted, that this is where we can be some extroverts in a sense, but it's because it's our comfort zone. And so shout outs to the community on making this a wonderful comfort zone to be in. But maybe not be as less psychopathic sons of bitches on Twitter of late. Maybe just calm it down a little bit. And to go back to the Mortal Kombat 9 event that we just had, Big D and Flashy, can we talk about the fact? And I know we don't like to get into a lot of flashing news topics here on the show, but I feel like we do need to talk about the fact that if you were to look at the Twitter community, when the MK9 event went down, you would think that this community is burning to an eternal hell and back, and that it's terrible. But if you were watching that MK9 event, it was this oasis of peace and happiness and infinite joy that felt euphoric for everyone involved. Everyone in the chat was positive. Everyone was just having a great time. And I like that we're still trying to push that message to everyone and to keep people entering events and trying to keep the competitive aspect of this community as positive a place as possible.
Well,
and I feel like what?
That's something that, while it's very rare, I wasn't surprised to see that level of positivity coming into the MK9 event. Because, like I said, I mentioned earlier in this episode that nostalgia is so sought after, and it's so strong. And when everyone is just reminiscing on the same type of memories, whether obviously not the same actual memories, but that point in their life is that will stick with them forever. No one's thinking about the petty shit of who said this about who, and then
I actually saw people talking about the game, which
you don't
I haven't seen in a long time. Yeah,
now
isn't it crazy?
I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and badmouth anybody, but anyone who knows about NRS Twitter knows that it goes through stages, right? Everything's fine. Stage 1, Stage 2, something weird kind of happens. Stage 3, that shit gets blown everywhere. And then Stage 4 is the apology, and then we go back to normal. But when you eliminate those stages and you just focus on what we all enjoy and what we all share in that same interest, it makes it that much more enjoyable to be a part of something like that. And that's what MK9, that event, brought to the table. Yeah, it's a broken ass game. That game is a fucking dumpster fire at a competitive level. Speaking from experience, I am telling you, that game is a dumpster fire at a competitive level. But it's the memories that came along with it.
Yep.
I didn't give a fuck if I was watching Cabal, Kenshi, or Striker on the screen. But I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this is fucking amazing. And the chat was the same exact way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it was crazy even seeing the newer generation come in and go, what the fuck am I watching? Okay, what's happening? Oh, this is crazy. And that was a really beautiful thing to see all of them start to reminisce and to start to get familiar with some of those older players and see that people can just compete in a video game and still have a good time. And yeah, we raised a really good amount of money, but even the players weren't concerned that there was money on the line at all. Every single one of them, all 8 players, guys, I shit you not, I just had this conversation with them. A couple of them gave the money back towards the next event. Most of them didn't even know that there was money on the line, and they just cared about getting to play those games again because they fucking love it. And you know what? That made me so happy to pull off from an organizational standpoint of, getting Mortal Kombat 9 to even work online in that setting was almost a year of tinkering with the server and tinkering with the technology behind it. and then piecing together a series that I can fit in, and then get my foot in the door. Does it work properly? And now that it is working properly, get to do some crazy shit with it. But all that work was absolutely worth it because look at what it did, and look at what it gave us for a few nights of actual happiness in the competitive community, which is so rare. And thank you for even being a part of it, Big D, because it was a great time. Flash, you better say something?
Dude, I would do it again and again over, and there better be another one. I don't give a fuck if you announce anything or not. You better start working. I'm not gonna let you just let something like that die.
That's the first thing I told him, man. As soon as we jumped on a call today, I was like, listen,
Today,
you better get another MK9 one going, like, immediately.
Dude.
I don't care who's
Now,
playing or what, but
and
get another
obviously,
MK9 one.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying, right? So, like, obviously, like I said, I was busy with school. You know, I was doing a lot of real estate stuff. I was pretty detached when it came along, but I knew that Aquaman was doing, you know, an Injustice 2 one, IGAU. Like, he was doing all of the retro stuff. And I'm like, that's all great because there's people that still love those games and they just haven't had the opportunity to really play it in like that kind of setting. And then when MK9 came around, that's where it touched a lot of us. That's where a lot of us came from. And even if, like, for someone like me, I'm different. You look at the OGs that started with MK9, they will praise it. Dab, RMATK, Biggs, like Rio, Detroit Ball, and it doesn't matter. Whoever started it with that game will praise that game till the day they die. I am here to tell you that game was a tragedy of a game at a competitive standpoint. But I'll be damned if I wouldn't pass up the chance to be a part of something like an invitational for MK9 in today's thing. Because regardless of whether or not the game sucked at a competitive state, it was still super fun. And that's what it was. Working there, I could have been paid $1 million to commentate that MK9 event. I'm telling you right now, it wouldn't have mattered because I would have had the same exact excitement. Literally was like it was crazy to be a part of something like that, and that's rare to find. So to show others that there's that passion that's still there for a lot of us, you know, I'm approaching 30 in fucking February, but like I'm not going anywhere. That shit was really cool to be a part of.
Yeah, one thing for me, especially sitting there, it was the most offline, online feeling I think I've had yet since like offline stopped. Like, like when you're at an offline, you guys know it the most. Like everybody's together, everyone's standing around, laughing, cheering, having a good time, talking about the game, talking about whatever's going on. And I got that feeling sitting here at my computer watching it online, and everybody else was online. So like that, the way I could describe it is the most offline, online feeling I've ever had, or whatever. And that was super awesome to see. And I could tell how much fun all of you OGs were having with it, man. It was just like I could tell you, like KP was just sharing stories, Big D, you were sharing stories, Aquaman was talking about stories, and like that's what it is, man. That's what an offline is. You're sitting there sharing stories with your friends and just having a good time, and that's literally what it was the entire time, which was absolutely awesome. But you just said something interesting. You're like, I'm here to stay, and now I kind of want to shift this to moving the timeline down to the unknown, right? What is in store for Big D down the line? Is it Listen, I don't know if you watch the show, but I do grill all of our guests on the YouTube channel. I couldn't even find your
Murder
YouTube
'em.
channel if you have
Flashy.
one. I
Flashy, go
honestly,
for the
I tried
throat.
my best.
For the
I tried
jugular.
looking it up. I tried finding you. I did everything I could. There's only your matches on other people's accounts. Don't know if you have a YouTube channel, but we can shift that to the side because you're doing real estate and grown man shit. So I respect that. But what is kind of Big D's plan moving forward? Is it content? Is it commentary? Or is it kind of just being around the scene in any way you can?
So it's a good question because there's a few different answers to that. My in a perfect world, let's say, I had my choice to pick whatever I want to do, and I could still stay in the scene. I would pick commentary 10 times over. I don't care if it's paid, if it's not paid, if I can live off it, if it's a part-time thing. It doesn't matter. I just enjoy doing it. It's a way for me to stay in contact with the scene without having to go through the competitive aspect, which I'm no longer really interested in. That being said, one of my biggest regrets, and this is another lesson you guys are getting a lot of advice, up and comers. Listen closely. It does not matter whether you have 10 people watching, 100 people watching, 1,000 people watching, or if it's 100 people subscribed or 10,000 people subscribed. Make content. I promise you, I promise you, I promise you, I promise you, it can only help you. If you do it right, that's what you need to do. One of my biggest regrets as a competitive player was that through those 8 years before I retired, I didn't give a shit about Twitch. Back then, it was Justin.tv, for those that know. I didn't care about that. I didn't care about YouTube. I only made a Twitter because they told me to, and that was it. If you are an up and comer and you're doing well, if you like the idea of having your name out there, make a YouTube, make a Twitter. Don't be stupid on social media. That goes whether you're a competitive player or not. Just don't be dumb. But get your name out there. You want to be a content creator. That's really what's going to help you out. Content creation and numbers and that is going to get you farther than placements. I promise you that. It really will.
That's almost a fact to this day that even a lot of people,
it
a
is.
lot of other people are talking about right now in the community. Big D is just winning isn't enough to be sustainable, especially in the FGC that is by comparison in esports so small and unsustainable. Right? We don't have the $500,000 tournaments popping up every couple of months all around the world, and especially nowadays where we've, might as well be a barren desert out here with the current competitive drought. Luckily, there's a lot of amazing community events going on, trying to keep people's interest until potentially another game, or we just play the games that we fucking love and say, hold that shit. So many things that,
but that
we
literally
can
is
get to off of that.
like your few options. But the point that I'm trying to make, for me, to get back on topic here, my goal for the future is to either commentate or dive actually into content creation, because I've never really done that. Like you said, I don't have a YouTube. I like have a YouTube, but I don't use it for anything other than watching YouTube videos.
Yep.
I want to do something with that. I don't know what game it's going to be for. I don't know what the content in itself is going to be. Is it going to be like vlogs or some shit about tournaments? I have no idea. What I do know is that it's an extension of commentary where I'm still continuing to provide content and talking to people. It's just not that same exact field. So commentary and content creation are definitely in my future. Who knows where life is going to take me. Something could happen, then I have to take another break for a year or two. But for right now, if I got what I wanted, it's commentating events while making content for whatever game or games that I am or am not commentating.
I mean, that's literally as good as it says. And to take it back to what you said with placings are not enough, literally on our first episode, we had Waz on, and that was his exact sentence. He literally said, he's like, placings are only going to get you so far. You can get first, second, third as much as you want, but you got to be making content. And I think that's kind of why I grill our guests so much, because I'm like, I don't think enough people realize how important it really is to have that YouTube, to have that Twitch going. For me personally, it's always been YouTube, but people really don't understand how important it is and how much further it can take you. Not even about financial, how much further it can take your brand, the opportunities that you could get. Like, it's absolutely unbelievable. And I'm really happy to hear that you're there, but it's also awesome to hear that, you took a step back and doing some grown man shit. So if you can balance both of those, man, I applaud you for that, dude. Seriously.
It is tough, man. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's not. There are weeks at a time where I just go completely off the grid because I have so much shit that I'm working on. My biggest advice to my biggest saying, if you take anything from this podcast from me personally, what good is placing if you're not memorable? I want you to think about that. What good is placing top 1, 2, 3, top 8 even, if no one's going to remember your name afterwards? What's the point? What, you get a little bit of a paycheck, you get your 15 minutes of fame, and then you're off into the wild while everyone talks about the dude that got 9th, but is vlogging and is talking about his experience and talking about how everyone should be coming out to these events and is growing the scene based off of those videos. That dude's going to be way more memorable. And you know who took that fucking route? Is Honeybee. I respect the fuck out of that man because he realized that competitive drive wasn't his thing anymore. Like, he still wants to compete. Of course he wants to do well. We all do. But this dude focused more on the vlogs, on the streaming for the, tournament runs online and shit like that. And look at the dude now. He could give a fuck if he goes 0-2. He's having a great time doing what he wants to do. So I urge you guys, please, if you want to do something in this community, If you want to compete and be the best, I fucking love it and I respect it. But I'm telling you, don't let that be the only thing you do.
There it is right there, ladies and gentlemen. Big
That's
D
it.
with a
That's it, dude. Literally.
I'm just gonna leave that as the closing thought right there. I can say one more thing, which is that people need to change their view of this space from a purely competitive space, and they need to start thinking if they want to be successful. And I'm telling you from my experience as well, is you need to look at it as an entertainment business. And if you aren't entertaining people, they're not going to watch you, and you have to think about it in that aspect of, playing and doing good only gets you so far. But if people don't want to watch you because you're boring or dull or don't, go outside the box to try to find other people to support you, then there's going to be no growth, and there's going to be no, I hate to say it, money in it unless you are that top 1% getting those massive payouts that are only going to come in the FGC once in a blue moon, as I'm sure Big D can attest to. Missing those $250,000 prize pool tournaments, especially from the Pro League days. Shouts to the Pro League. But thank you so much, Big D, for coming on. It's been an absolute honor. Thank you for coming onto the Kolosseum as well. We go way back. Honestly, one of my favorite people in the world to commentate with. You make it incredibly easy. It's just natural ability to talk and craft the story of the competitive match online and offline. So thank you so much, Big D. Thank you for coming on. And I'm going to let Flashyy close this out. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Be sure to subscribe down below. Check out Big D. Everything will be in it. You know what, Flashyy, you do it. I'm not going to do
it. I was going to say, listen, if you want to take it, go ahead. But yeah, Big D, like Aquaman said, you guys have known each other for a decade. I've only met you tonight, but it feels like I've known you for a decade, man. You're super well-spoken, and it's awesome to see you doing big things and doing what you love. So definitely go follow him if you don't already. He's going to be making a YouTube channel and popping off on it, so be sure to subscribe to that when he does. But subscribe to us on the Kolosseum. We'll be back with another episode next Thursday. Big D, was awesome talking to you, man. We're going to catch you guys next week.